Does anyone else remember back when Skyrim first came out in 2011? That sense of wonder at the huge world, the incredible, at least for the time, visuals, the hilarious bugs. Well, bugs aside, did you know Skyrim has a miniatures game? The Elder Scrolls Call to Arms was released by Modiphius back in 2019, so if this isn't news to you, then fair enough, to be honest. But whether you're a fan of this game or not, I'd advise sticking around for this video because we've got some pretty big news. Now, like most nerds I know, I racked up some pretty big hours on Skyrim back in the day. Started out on console, but then when the special edition came out, like everyone else, I went back for just a few more adventures. Because there's just something about that world, Tamriel in general, that once you get sucked in, it's really hard to climb back out for anything more than a short break. However, seeing the characters that I remember fondly being rendered as 32mm miniatures, that's a whole new level of cool. I was sent these 4 miniatures by today's sponsor, My Mini Factory, and they asked if I'd be interested in talking about the Elder Scrolls game, and of course their new Frontier campaign that accompanies it. And boy am I interested. This is very much my cup of tea. Because Skyrim for me is kind of a core memory. It's an anchor to a really great time in my life, and it's a nostalgia that's still so accessible and enjoyable even to this day. So, this game, as I said earlier, was originally released in 2019 by Modiphius, and firstly, I think we should go over why it's still worth talking about now in 2025. Modiphius are pretty well renowned at this point for having great success with turning existing IPs into games, but also for the quality of their miniatures, which often far exceeds what we expect to see from an indie developer. But with the game now deciding to join the ranks of the 3D printing world, what should we be expecting? Well, the truth is that these 4 models I've shown you are all I've currently got my hands on, so a lot of our information is going to have to come from these, at least mostly. And we can see that the thing they seem to have really focused on is the detail level, which is kind of ridiculous. Honestly, I'm very close to blowing one of these up to display scale, like I did with the recent Tyrion Lannister model that you might have seen. The crispness and care with which these have been sculpted just makes them such good candidates to end up on a display plinth. But remember, I said that that's mostly where our info has to come from. Because in classic My Mini Factory style, they've wangled you a free sample mini to try out with this lovely little Dragon Priest model. But wait, there's more. And as well as this lovely little ditty of a model being just as detailed and beautiful as the rest, it's also a model that could win you some really dope prizes. Now, look, we've done a few of these on the channel at this point, and it's kind of obvious My Mini Factory are a bit of an ongoing sponsor of ours, so you probably have an idea of what I'm going to say already, which is, of course, that My Mini Factory are running a competition. You can download and print this miniature for free from My Mini Factory at the link below, and submit it once you've painted it to them for a chance to have a go at winning prizes in excess of $4,500. They really do go big with these things. As we've seen in previous competitions from MMF, the prizes are going to include printers, resin, paint sets, brushes, so this guy could end up being well worth a few hours of your time. Now, getting back on subject and talking about these beautiful miniatures, I really just needed to paint one to get a proper feel for them, and I decided I was going to work on Ralof. He was always my favourite of the 2 faction characters in the game, and I almost always went Stormcloak, so that's just kind of my allegiance. But the one kind of problem with Ralof, at least for me, and to be honest with Skyrim in general, is, well, the game looks like this. Being a Bethesda game from the early 2010s, Skyrim enjoys the wonderful sepia piss filter that pervaded most games of that era. And, well, for me and how I like to paint, that just won't do. I'm really into going for either really punchy bright colours or really high contrast, and that means I'm gonna have to try to reimagine Skyrim as if it were a game made with more modern visual sensibilities. Now, this is mostly going to involve just looking at these sort of desaturated tones that they use in the game and just finding adjacent, more saturated versions. It's not really that hard. But I do need to remember to also not lean into things like grimy shading or an overabundance of dirt and rust. Those things are present in the game, sure, but in tiny miniature form here, it's very easy to add just a tiny bit too much of those things and suddenly your model is kind of pigeonholed into that grim dark sort of look. So I ended up spending just a couple of hours on Ralof here, and I just kind of had a play and experimented with reimagining him in this way and seeing what I could come up with. Mostly just an exercise in fun and enjoyment and having a good time. And well, this is how it went. To my eye, Ralof never looked so cheerful and, well, normal. It's kind of like when you play Skyrim with mods that boost the colours of the game, something I highly recommend, by the way, if you've never tried it. It just feels that little bit more alive and real when it's not blanketed in that kind of pea soup yellowy greeny filter. So if you fancy reliving your nostalgia like I have and painting up some Skyrim, I definitely recommend giving this one a look. I'll be dropping a link below in the description to the Frontier page so that once it launches you can head over there and take a look at what they have to offer. Something I have been given as a little insider hint is that this 3D printed run of models is actually going to include some sculpts that were not part of the original 2019 physical release of Skyrim Call to Arms. So new and exclusive much? That's pretty exciting. Painting this Ralof mini was just a really lovely trip down memory lane, and a really nice engagement with some of those core fundamental miniature painting skills that we sometimes end up overlooking in pursuit of doing something flashy and show off. I feel like if I had the time available to me, I could probably paint a lot of these Skyrim models and have a really good time while I'm at it. So, massive thanks, of course, to My Mini Factory for sponsoring this video, and massive thanks to you for taking the time to watch it. Remember also, folks, if you do want to support the channel, there is a link below to both our Ko-fi and our Patreon. You can join our Discord, chat with me constantly. I am terminally online when it comes to Discord. And join a really nice community of miniature painters for just £1 a month. There's some other perks as well, so be sure to give it a look and drop us a subscription if you fancy it, maybe. But yes, thanks for watching, folks, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.